ahora invitamos a Luis Miguel Vegas, gerente general de Proarándanos, que nos hará un análisis de la producción y exportaciones de Perú y sus proyecciones futuras.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Gustavo and his team for the invitation to participate in this event for the second consecutive year. And I have prepared a brief presentation with some statistics for the last season and some predictions for the next coming season. In the interest of time, I will start my presentation right now. Here you can see some figures that you may be familiar with and you have already seen many times. In here we have the exponential growth rate of Peruvian exports since 2015 till the closing of 2022. It has increased 20 times, and at the end of the last season over 180,000 tons, and then we have the campaign 23-24 over 330,000 tons of blueberries for the next coming season. Now, if we see the situation of the organic blueberry in the season that is coming to an end, it represented 12% of the total overall exports of fresh blueberries. And for the next season, we project that the participation or share of the organic blueberry will be up to 14%. As an additional information, 85 of these fresh organic blueberries exported to the United States is depending strongly on the United States market, and weight 85% of these organic blueberry to the United States. Now, regarding the business of processed and frozen blueberries, the percentages you see on the bars is the representation of the blueberry for processed and frozen fruits. It's around 5% of the overall total that is exported from Peru. 5% is frozen or processed fruit. And here you have the projection for the next season. So 95% of the blueberry that is exported is fresh, and the rest is processed or frozen. After a few years, we'll see the opening of new export markets. The Peruvian blueberry is reaching different countries around the world. In here, you see a summary of the last markets that have been penetrated, and since 2016, when the Chinese market was open. In here, you see the timeline, and the last market to be opened was Israel at the mid of last year. And in here you can see the other countries in this process: Korea, New Zealand, Taiwan, Bolivia, Argentina, Dominican Republic, Australia, and so on. These processes sometimes take a long time, but we are working on that. Additionally to the opening of additional markets, we also engage in the improving the access to the countries where we are allowed to trade. And in here we see some of the processes that have been conducted. For example, to use the bag pallet or palleted bag. And presently, we have all the processes that you see on the screen. For example, the authorization for Malaysia, for Taiwan, and the inspection of containers at origin, and also for the transportation in transit to Israel and other countries. In here you can see these pictures showing the different market shares, with the United States being the most important market for export, representing half of the volume exported by Peru, followed by Europe. Europe as a whole represents around 30% of the exports of Peruvian berries, then China with 13% in the last season. As a total, Peru was exporting to 31 countries during the last season, and in here you have the listing of the different destinations to which we exported during this season 22-23. Now to see the seasonality of the exports. In the between August and December, we exported 86% of all the volume of blueberries exported in between August and October, as I said. And if we see this in a more restricted manner, we see that 52% of overall volume exported by Peru during this season was exported between September and October. If we see now this breakdown by destination, we'll see that is very interesting. If we see May and August, the beginning of the season, the values that you can observe there, and according to each one of the destinations, we see that the total that was exported during May and August for China, the total for the whole season, 32% took place between May and August.
The beginning of the campaign, China was a very strong customer for Peruvian exports. Now, when we see the tail of the campaign, China is the one with less participation, and then the share of the UK increases, and we see that effect. If we look or break it down by producing regions in Peru, there are no significant differences, but we can see that the campaign started in the north, in Piura, in August, concentrating 23% of their exports, the exports of Piura. And when we go to the late stage of the campaign, we can see Ica, which is more to the south. Regarding the number of hectares of blueberry in Peru, we see an evolution. In 2016, we had less than 2,000, and by 2022, we see for exports more than 18,000 hectares of blueberries. We can also see that in 2016, 90% of the blueberry surface was located in La Libertad, and now in 2022, we can see that the share of La Libertad has gone down to 45%. However, their number of hectares has increased, but this has to do with the appearance of other areas such as La Bahía, Olmos, and also Ica, Lima, the North, Ancash, and Piura. Talking about varieties, we see an interesting evolution. In 2016, we had 13 varieties of blueberry, and Biloxi was accounted for 60% of blueberry crops in Peru. In 2022, we have 65 varieties registered for exports, and we see that the share of Biloxi has gone down from 58 to 26%, being surpassed by Ventura. Another interesting piece of data, it's rather small here on the screen, but you can see that at the bottom of the screen we can see the growth. Peru grew by 3,000 hectares per year since 2016, but in 2022 we see that this has decreased, this growth, with less than 2,000 hectares. To close my presentation, as a summary, we have established the main pillars for Peruvian blueberry exports. First, promoting consumption. It is important to invest in consumption to increase our presence in different markets and also to increase per capita consumption. We still have a lot of potential, especially in new markets where blueberry is a new product, like the Chinese market. Also, varieties, genetics. We have been talking a lot about that in regards to quality, and varieties has to do with two main things. One's the customer experience, and on the other hand, it must be aligned with productivity, with the with farmers' economy. So it has to provide both a good experience to the customer and to be profitable in the field. Also to diversify markets, to be less dependent on the U.S. market. Technology and innovation, to really look for innovation to gain efficiency in all the chain of blueberry exports, also to improve maritime logistics, better alternatives with a shorter transits, not to depend on exclusively on the Callao and Paita ports. We have now the port of Chancay being constructed 1 hour and a half to the north of Lima. It's under construction, like I said, and it will be operated in 2 to 3 years from now. And also, in our case, we have our food safety agency, SENASA, and we must continue to strengthen our agency to inspect for pest controls, etc. And finally, something that Juan Jose mentioned, which is sustainability. Really communicate and foster good practices, best practices in environmental, social, and governance. The blueberry industry in Peru has generated almost 140,000 jobs, 60% of them occupied by women, and we must make that known, because this is highly beneficial to our country. Well, this is what I had to share with you, and I'm open to your questions. Thank you.